Thank you guys. Hope everyone's enjoying the show. I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. I think we even have said ladies first. If you're still comfortable, Ola, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Kayal. I'm the founder of Nabati. Nabati is a plant-based concept. It actually started as my school project that evolved into the first plant-based ice cream and dessert shop in Miami, Florida, and is now a conscious eatery in Jeddah, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plant-based, gluten-free, health-conscious, and sustainable zero waste.
Fantastic. Muin, please.
My name is Muin Serhan. I'm the CEO for Amsa Hospitality. We're a Saudi-born company. We operate and manage hotels like Radisson SAS, Accor hotels in Saudi Arabia, in main cities and secondary markets.
Dr. Ibrahim.
Yes, I'm Ibrahim Alsini. I am executive partner of Inaar Consultancy. We advise clients, government and private sector in the area of hospitality and tourism, arts and culture, education sectors as well. We are currently advising clients mid-scale, upscale hotel development, food and beverage concept development. We are also currently operating a Saudi heritage-based food and beverage brand called Earth. And this brand is owned by the Culinary Art Commission from the Ministry of Culture. So I'd like to invite you to be there, one of the branches here in Riyadh. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. What a fabulous panel we have. We should have some slides behind me at some point. I believe they'll be popping up in a second. My own personal introduction, in addition to what you just heard, I'm a biochemist, of course I am. A failed biochemist and a failed nuclear scientist is a little bit strong, but I did work in a nuclear plant before E&Y picked me out and I managed to work in the hotel sector. Haven't looked back since. I like to think I've changed food over the years in the hotel sector, but I'm very much honored to work now, to live in the kingdom and also work with a lot of the giga projects and to engineer the future of this fine country that I've chosen now as a home with my family as well. Now, I can't see the slides behind me, so I'm going to edge that way just in case I overlook something. Oh, there you are, the magic machine. Thank you very much. The mid-market. Now, you heard our colleagues talk a moment ago about the hotel sector, mid-market. And we have a very ambitious title to this panel. We're talking about global leadership. And we're talking about how F&B, how hotels can dominate that space. Now, those are not the words that you'd normally associate with F&B and hotels. They're not normally as bold or as ambitious as that. And so we have spotted a gap in the market, which came from, it was a few months ago when we were talking about this event. I was on Talia Street with a friend and found that we were a little frustrated at the lack of choice. And we went up and down Talia Street, which is Riyadh's Oxford Street equivalently, right, as a Londoner. And we were a little frustrated by the absence in that mid-sector, $25 to $50, just under 200 riyals as an opportunity. So we thought, well, are hotels missing a trick? Because at the same time as frustrated demand, there's a lot of empty restaurants around, and I couldn't quite marry, I couldn't work out why that was the case. So what we'll do is we'll show you some data, which will be of interest to you, I think. And we called it, if I may, the riddle of Riyadh's missing middle. The data we'll show you, first of all, is the comparison across the markets globally of how Saudi sits. Not easy to extract data out, not easy to define what we mean by full-service restaurant, so we had to work hard at this slide, even though it doesn't look like it. But you can see on the slide that Riyadh sits, Saudi sits behind the other countries in terms of the food service market. Now, in addition to that, I'm never comfortable comparing Saudi with or Riyadh with Dubai, but we will do it for this in this instance here. And when you compare that mid-sector, the market value, interestingly, for Dubai as a big, well-defined mid-sector, which you can see here on the slide, which is twice the scale of here in terms of the share of the market value. It's 30 billion here, for instance. So for some reason, Dubai has a market share twice in the mid-sector. I heard the phrase used, a mature market, and I keep hearing that, and I'm not a believer in this maturity thing that Saudi's an immature market. I don't believe that. I believe Saudi's following its own path, but at the same time, this is an unusual gap which we'd like to explore with you. I'll turn to the panel, if I may, my talented colleagues here. Dr. Ibrahim, why, you're a Saudi national, so I can't answer this question. Why the gap, please?
I think these statistics really answer the question of this session. The answer is yes, but it's why this gap and how we can close the gap. So in terms of the why this gap, I believe there's several reasons. I think the audience really Dubai and Riyadh savvy, so they understand all that, but I'd like just to highlight it. First, Dubai is a tourist and expat city. So more expats, more tourists to Dubai, but Riyadh is just emerging. The second thing is the lifestyle culture of expats and people of Dubai for going out to eat. And also they are quite familiar with the for pricing the meals higher than Riyadh. And the other 2 points, one is regulatory and maturity in Dubai is much more than Riyadh. And lastly, I think the infrastructure in Dubai is food and beverage, foodfall, purposely built destinations like JBR, like the IFC. Riyadh just emerging in that. We have U-Walk, we have Roshan Front, we have other places, but just starting. So we don't have the infrastructure that equipped for foodfall, food and beverage customers.
That's an interesting comparison. Thank you for making that. Ola, you're an operator of a fantastic plant-based, I can't push it enough, guys, a plant-based restaurant in Jeddah, my hometown. Why is there this gap there? What do you think is at the root of that?
So before I answer that question, I would actually like to go back to the origin of the word restaurant. So if we look at restaurant, it comes from a French word that's restauration, to restore. So when this first emerged, it was for the blue-collar workers. They're out in construction sites or at work, and they needed a place to restore their energy, to have a meal, a drink, a coffee, and go back to work. So I think if we want to target that middle class, we need to provide things that are going to restore in that area. So logistically easy, affordable, and something that's going to please that target, that segment. And I think in Saudi, there is still the culture of eating at home. The mother or the wife is cooking a meal, and typically they will eat together. So to appeal to that market, we need to provide something that's more personal, something that's different that they won't be able to get. Like, for example, Nabati is like completely gluten-free and vegan, so you can't really find that option anywhere else, so you would go eat there. So I think we need to really look into the behavioral patterns of the consumer to see how to tap into that.
Perhaps we've lost our way, we've forgotten about that mid-ground. We've done a lot of work in quick service, fast food, a little bit of work on fine dining, but that bit in the middle has been neglected in a way. Right, Muin, before I ask you this question, we then dug further into the numbers because we know you like to talk about money. What if this market that they're describing steals, strong word, takes market share from QSR, from fast food? And interestingly, for every 1% that you move that dial, there's $238 million in there. There is a huge and yawning gap. Muin, you're a fantastic and established hotelier. Why are you guys and your colleagues and the brands you work with, why are they not jumping into this market right now?
You know, there is, I totally agree with the gentleman and the lady, what they are mentioning. The issue what we have in the hotel business, We're hiding behind something called design and standard. If you look to the session before us, they were talking about the development on a mid-scale, similar to scale. And they were touching into the location, and they were touching into the design and fitting the design. Now, when you follow the design hold you from doing a lots of things. There's lack of innovation, I have to tell you. Why famous five-star hotels, even Riyadh, lunch and dinner, they are empty. And their clients are in Uwalk, in Tahliya, everywhere, than the normal static of normal buffet. Even if you're going to do whatever you're going to do, like Six Kitchen style. But still, we have this gap of the design, not only on a visual design as an interior design, even the offering, the menu offering. The menu offering inside hotels does not really translate or resonate to the people who basically will eat. And unfortunately, we're doing so because of the standard. We're running behind the standard. We just opened a hotel in Medina and part of Radisson. So the first thing we have to build the all-day dining restaurants, which is serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and as per the standard of Radisson. All right. So Radisson standards, I'm not accusing Radisson, but I'm just telling the international hotel chains how they look at, and I was one of them. They give you a mandate for how the things needs to be done, and you follow. They don't leave any creativity for what things needs to be done. So, and this what makes people and makes the...
What's beneath that, Muin? Are they risk adverse, or is it just a formulaic approach that they roll out? Or what's at the core of that, do you think?
There is two things on this. One, if you have to go back to the math, the ROI. First, as a developer, the first thing we look at how many number of rooms, because here where the money comes in. Now, the food and beverage is secondary, unfortunately. We don't consider the food and beverage as a main source of business for this. Now, when we do even visibility studies for any projects moving in, we factor around 2 to 3% only total revenue. If you had, for example, 15 million on a total rooms, you times it by 3% food and beverage income. That's it. So you're already narrowing your gaps by the time you're doing your visibility. So you're not widening your way of thinking, how you're developing the food and beverage. This is one. Second thing is that there's a lack of creativity on hotel chains out of having that bespoke outlets in the markets, which other markets are having. Even for the same product, even for the same, I would say falafel, you find different offering for one product, which is falafel. The way how you present, the way how you do, the way. And even the way how it's been delivered by the aggregator. So all this gives some sort of mandate for how the innovation is very important moving forward on this, which hotels does not support.
Thank you for that perspective. We also looked at hotels and what advantages you have. If you could move to the next slide, please, guys. What advantages that you have, because it seems like you're ideally placed, Muin. It seems like you have, as you can see on the screen, guys, a few things that are real advantages. The location, the parking, the valet, you've got existing people. No, you're leaping ahead. Go back to that one. You've got existing people in the team that sit there. You've got the asset not working for you. So I'll return to you in a moment, but I'm interested to hear from the guys. I remember, Ola, I showed you this slide a week ago, and you thought it was a bit optimistic on some of these elements. But do you think hotels could step into this space?
I really do think hotels in Saudi are still not something that's very, it's not appealing to the local consumer. I don't imagine people, especially women, going to a hotel for a meal. I don't see that as something that's acceptable in society yet. I think the lack of pedestrian areas to walk in, it's not like we're out and like we're walking in an area and we need a place to eat, so we're going to go to a hotel to catch a meal. I think this is very optimistic, and I think in order for us to tap into in hotels, it's going to need a lot of analysis on behavioral patterns of the local market. If we're targeting the outsiders, the foreigners, the tourists, then maybe yes. But is that going to be sustainable? And another key point here is mid-sector. We now have a lot of fees, a lot of costs related to staffing and like governmental fees that is very hard for a mid-operator to be able to reach their targets, having to pay all these fees. Like just for one staff alone, the fees went up so much that the margins are becoming very difficult to manage.
That's an interesting point, because the high end, you could argue, has price elasticity. It's not finite, but they can increase the prices. The quick service end has delivery and volume, but you're in the middle there paying similar costs that they have to pay.
You know, Stefan, if you want this formula to succeed, you need to add one more arrow to this.
Okay.
And you need to add the innovation and creativity. Now, normally, entrepreneur chefs and all as one of them, they are creative. You have to give them the leash. You have to give them, you tell them, this is your restaurant, develop something, and leave them. This is where they come up with something. Can hotels attract the outsiders to come in?
Sure.
But if we go into the, yes, I understand, the standard is good, and she followed the standard. But we, as a hotel, we're missing the arrow of the innovation and creativity.
Right.
And the entrepreneurial mindsets. You know, this chef comes in and they come and say, listen, you remember the old days? You know, if I say the old days, people will think that I'm above 60. You remember the old days will come and say that this chef, he is coming from Manaware restaurants in Paris. He's coming from poor restaurants in Paris.
He must be good.
You know, see, this type of chefs is basically, they did something in that place. So Ola comes on that background. So if Ola comes in a hotel and she basically runs this, it will become her creativity, her touch, her move, and each hotel, each location needs to have their own authentic touch, especially for people like us, developing in secondary markets, for example. Qasim, I wouldn't have Ola comes into Qasim, coming with a vegan concept, but I will definitely have a homegrown concepts coming from Qasim that can really cater to the market and make it more appealing to the visitors from outside and from people from within Qasim.
Dr. Ibrahim, you operate a restaurant in association with a government body, and also you're a consultant in business. Interested in your perspective.
I think mid-scale hotels are missing huge opportunity. They are really oriented to room revenue generation more than food and beverage generation. And if you look at mid-scale hotels, they have very limited localized offerings. I have an example. One guest came from the US, and she said, I stayed in one of the lovely hotels in Riyadh, and I tried the best Saudi dessert. I said, what that dish? She said, Ali. I said, this is not Saudi dish. It is another dish from other countries, but not Saudi country. This is one thing. The other thing, the hotel, because the restaurants and hotels already invested. This is not a new investment. It is already a cost. So what is missing there? The experience, as you said, the experience, any guest coming, they want something Instagrammable. They can take photo of it. Either it is a dish or the ambience of the place, so they can take memory of this place. Other thing, how we can make these hotels less formal. So people can go in without feeling that they are not belonging. And if the staff wearing casual, and that will encourage the guests to come in casual way, and they offer value-driven luxury. So it is luxury, but it's value-driven. So that will attract them all. I think the hotels, they have many benefits they can utilize it. For example, loyalty programs, swimming pool. So they can do events, bring families, and that will make a lot of mix of offerings. And all the things that you have mentioned, it is already tech. So only they need to rethink about it and draw the revenue from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I'll sum up, because we are determined to finish on time, but we are confident there is a gap in the middle. We've sensed that perhaps it is a time for everyone associated with the Hotel F&B sector to step up and recognize that gap. The market's growing really quickly, but I think maybe there's an argument to pause for breath and do things a little bit more, with more rigor, perhaps. Spend more time on the concept, invest in research, do more local concepts, as Doctor says. So I think that I'm glad that we shared with you this opportunity. I'll leave you with this one slide as we leave the slide stage because time is short. But without question, there is this gap, an opportunity for hotels to reassert themselves in the market. As you can see on the screen, they've got no rent to pay. That's not true. You do have rent to pay. But as Ola described, occupancy costs are a large part of your business mix. Thank you for your time, and thank you, panelists.